Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown. And today I'm going to talk about the 2009, make sure I get the name of the parkway crash correctly, Taconic State Parkway crash in New York. Before I start the show, I do want to say this because YouTube is very sensitive about things that they call self-harm. And my show is, first of all, it's a criminal profiling show. I'm analyzing what happened in this terrible, terrible incident. And this is a show that also will include a little crime scene reconstruction, just showing levels of alcohol. And this is to point out what you should not do, how you should not harm yourself and others. It is to tell you that drinking and driving is dangerous, very, very dangerous. And you need to understand what you are doing when you take that chance, and how alcohol and how much alcohol can affect you when you are in the vehicle behind the wheel. Having said that, I want to welcome everybody here. Start out on a more pleasant note now, although this isn't a very pleasant story. Let me see who's here. We have a pretty busy chat room today. We have Martin's here, Carrie's here, Ann's here, Lisa S is here. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Carolina's here, Florence is here, and two Lisas, Lisa N and Lisa S, and Joe is here. I think I have everybody, but if I missed you, I'm sorry. And before I get started, also, I want to mention to you how you can be in the chat room, because this makes a great community when we have wonderful people in the chat room. You can go over to Patreon. There's a link below and join. Right now we'll call it tier 3. It'll be the only tier in the near future. It's $5 a month. It includes 8 shows, live shows that you can be involved in, 4 case shows, and 3 hangouts, and also a call-in show where you can call in and talk with me about all kinds of subjects and have a lot of fun. So that $5 a month supports the channel and gives you something cool to do. Also, if you just subscribe to the channel, that helps immensely. Share on true crime pages. Hit that bell so you know when a show is coming up, and like the show or buy a book. All right, that's it for that. Let me get back to the story now. Okay, so hi everyone. This horrible incident was requested by a number of people who saw the show. There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. That is an HBO show, and I think it's been out for a long time, but it was just put up on Netflix, I believe, and I can't find it on Netflix, so I don't really know what happened to it. So go figure. But I did see the show myself. It was very interesting. It's this one here. There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. And I also read this book. This is the mother of the 3 girls who were killed in the accident. This is by Jackie Hance. I'll See You Again. This doesn't have a great deal about the actual incident. It more tells you about a little bit about their family prior, and then how she dealt with this horrific loss of all her children at that time. And it's a pretty sad, and there's some hope, I would say, in the book that she's managed to find a way to live again, hoping, finding still joy in life after a period of time. So it's a good book, but if you want details about what happened, that's not the book to read. There's more in the documentary, I would say, than there is in the book on that. But there's a couple, interesting things about Jackie's viewpoint of her sister-in-law and all of their collective families together prior to this horrible incident. Now, if you don't know what this horrible incident is, it is called, again, the 2009 Taconic State Parkway crash. And it was a traffic collision that occurred shortly after 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, July 26, 2009, on the Taconic State Parkway. And it is near the village of Briarcliff Manor, New York. 8 people were killed. when a minivan driven by 36-year-old Diane Schuler traveled 1.7 miles in the wrong direction on the parkway and collided head-on with an oncoming SUV. Schuler, let me see if I can find this here. Hold on a second. So this is, I want to show you, this is the route she was taking. Normally it should take 2 hours and 24 minutes, and they're going from up there. That Parkville place is where Diane took her sister-in-laws and her brother and sister-in-law's 3 daughters, her own son and daughter, and her husband, and they went up to this camping area. And it was kind of like something they did every year, and everybody loved it. And it gave a weekend away for her brother and sister-in-law. They didn't have to have 3 kids under their feet, a free weekend. And the kids loved being with their aunt and uncle. And usually they also brought along one more adult, but he was not available, which did make the mother of the 3 girls very nervous. She said, I prefer to have two adults in the car when she's driving there and back. And then somebody kind of said to her, come on now, lots of times Diane just drives your kids around, so, this is just no big deal if there's not a second adult in the car. Now, of course, you wish there was a second adult in that car. So what happened was, so let me show you the picture of these. These are the people that got killed in the crash. Were these? They're her little one on the left is her daughter. Her son, Diane's son, survived the crash with some major injuries, but he actually survived. The 3 little girls those are her nieces. They died in the crash, and those are the 3 men who were in the oncoming vehicle that smashed into, that they smashed together. Okay, so now here also this is kind of the parkway they were going down. This is a picture of where she entered the wrong way, not necessarily that car, but I'm not sure. It looks kind of like her car. But then this is the crash scene. It's pretty horrific. I'm only putting this up here very shortly just so you can see that it was a deadly crash. And there's reasons that that's her car. That's what's left of her car. Just pretty dreadful. So now what happened after this all went down is nobody understood why Diane was driving the wrong way. How is that possible? Well, they came up afterwards, they did the autopsy and they did the toxicology, and this is what was in the toxicology report. A toxicology report released on August 4th by Westchester County medical examiners found that Schuler had a blood alcohol level content of 0.19%, with approximately 6 grams of alcohol in her stomach that had not yet been absorbed into her blood. The report also showed she had high levels of THC, the active ingredient of marijuana, in her system, and had smoked marijuana as recently as 15 minutes prior to the collision. Okay, so that's where the family went nuts. They're like, well, you got to be kidding. They thought maybe she'd had some kind of seizure. She had some kind of aneurysm, a stroke that made her do crazy stuff. But now they find out that she was highly intoxicated at the time and also had marijuana in her system. And they were stunned by this because pretty much everybody in the family, and that includes her husband, says she's not a drinker. He said occasionally she'll have a drink, but she's not a regular drinker. Her sister-in-law, who lost her 3 children, said she doesn't drink. She's very responsible. She's that type A personality. She always gets things done. She's very concerned about the children. They get presents, and she pays attention to their birthdays and Valentine's Day and gives them cards. And she's like the favorite auntie, just the greatest auntie. And so there was a great level of trust within the family and a great deal of trust for Diane. So they're really stunned about this. How could this possibly be? So of course, Diane's husband does not believe that this is true. He thinks there's something wrong with the toxicology report. And during the documentary, they have, is it Werner Spitz? I think it's Werner Spitz. Hope I got that right. A forensic pathologist. They bring him in to tell them what he thinks of the toxicology report. And he says the toxicology report is correct. And they were pretty upset because they thought for sure he was going to give them a break somewhere along the way and say it's something wrong with the toxicology report. But he says, you know, you're going to have to accept the fact that she had that much alcohol in her and THC as well. Okay, so isn't that pretty horrific? So now I'm going to go into the different theories in just a minute here. Yes, let me point that out. Carolina says Diane's reported alcohol level was 0.19. The legal limit in North Carolina is 0.08. Yes. That 0.19 is equal to approximately 10 shots, 10 drinks. So that's quite a lot. All right. And then we have this issue about they are in denial still. It's sad. Well, yes, I think it's such a hard thing to comprehend that she actually did drink this, that this person who's so responsible, and also if they accept this, they have to truly accept that she's responsible for what happened. If she had a stroke or an aneurysm, something that made her brain go kablooey, that she had zero alcohol in her system or anything else, you could say it was a tragic medical disaster. But once you got that in body, you know, once you got alcohol on board, you kind of can't say that anymore. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. Yeah, that's our favorite saying on that. She was very intoxicated. Wow. Yes, and I'm going to do a demonstration on this whole thing. Benny is here. Hi, Benny. You did finally make it to a live show. Yay. I'm happy to see you. Let's see. It's also true. This is a good point. Doreen says it's also true for family members of perpetrators. This is true. Serial killers, people kill their spouses. The family members go, they would never do that. And a lot of times it's because they, A, don't recognize personality disorders, B, that person was on their good behavior sometimes with them, or C, they just, in spite of everything, they can't imagine the person doing something so horrific. So that's just, you know, they just can't go there. And it's so painful to go there. I can understand why they might not go there. Oh, welcome, Carmen. Glad to see you here. And I just want to remind everybody, this is a one-time open chat room for all Patreon people. This used to be just for level tier 3 and up. It's open today to everybody, but coming Wednesday, I'm going to only have one tier. It's tier 3 now, but it'll change just to tier 1. I'm just going to have one, $5 for everybody. Everybody gets to be involved who wants to be involved. Okay, now, what happened? Because this is what people really want to know. Okay, so she drank. Why did she do that when she had all those children in the car? Why? With 5 children in the car, a responsible mom and auntie. It was also, it wasn't like they'd gone to a party or something. They were up camping. They were having a camping trip. They got up that morning, packed up everything, got ready to go. And then her husband took the other vehicle, I think then the dog or something, and she took the kids to drive back. Seems normal. Everything seems fine. Now, I want to go through just the basics of the timeline and talk about where this alcohol came from in the timeline, why she might have drank it. But should I do that first or second? Okay. Okay, I'll do the alcohol thing first, and then I'm going to talk about the 3 basic scenarios people come up with for why this happened. All right, so let's go back here now. Again, this is let me show you one more time, the route. So the family lives at what's down there in the right-hand corner is called West Babylon. It's on Long Island. And so you go all the way up there, 2.5 hours to this Parksville place to go camping. So then this is what happened on that day. So I'm going to take you sort of through it a little bit. So you can just see where the alcohol comes in. At 9:30 on a Sunday, Diane Schuler left the Hunter Lake campground in Parksville, New York, in her red 2003 Ford Windstar that belonged to her brother, the father of the 3 little girls. Riding with Schuler were her 5-year-old son, 2-year-old daughter, and her brother's 3 daughters, 8, 7, and 5. Her husband, Daniel Schuler, left the campground at the same time in a separate vehicle since he had a pickup truck and took the family dog with him. A co-owner of the campground later said that Diane appeared sober when she departed. Okay, so now on their way to their home, which is down there in Long Island, Schuler stopped at a McDonald's restaurant. All right, now this is important. If you look up there, you'll see Parksville, and right below Parksville, you see a place called Liberty. All right, she supposedly she left 9:30 a.m. from the campground, but and then she got to the McDonald's restaurant at some time. All the people there at the McDonald's restaurant said she seemed perfectly normal. What did she buy at the McDonald's restaurant? This is where it starts getting interesting. She bought a coffee. Okay. Now, I read that she bought a coffee, so I bought a large coffee. Turns out she bought iced coffee. I don't know if they come in the same container or they're in a clear container. But at any rate, she bought a coffee. And I think this is important. And I've seen a lot of people talk about this, but nobody ever talks about the alcohol. They're like, oh, there was an empty vodka bottle in her vehicle. So, but they're saying none of the children saw her drink anything. Like she wasn't picking up the bottle and going, during the ride. So how did this work? Okay, this is a coffee. She also bought an orange juice, also from McDonald's. This is a large orange juice. It's very common for people who drink vodka to put it in orange juice. Now, you ask, how does she do this? Because, and this is a bottle of vodka. Now, I want to point out, if you can look, you see this amount that was taken out, this is the 10 drinks. There's a lot left here, and you have to understand when people do things, they do it like this. They're not measuring, okay? Which is unfortunate. But this is 10 shots right there. If you want to see what 10 shots looks like, here it is in a glass. All right. This is 10 shots. Now, for most of us, I'm not a big vodka drinker. Only at the airport in a, what am I drinking? What do you call that one? Oh, come on now. The red drink with the celery in it. God, somebody help me out here. And then also, if you get those, somebody tell me that's a lot. Well, yeah. Heidi asked this question. She ordered a large OJ. Was it confirmed? I'm going to say this. It's confirmed as much. Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Bloody Mary. Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay. That's it. Sorry about that. The inability to remember drinks. Bloody Mary. Everybody's now telling me it's a Bloody Mary. Yeah. Sometimes when I fly, you're stuck in that airport, you sit down, and this is an important point to point out. And this is what I want to talk about. You say, this is a lot. This is 10 shots. Okay. If I'm in the airport, so I'm going to tell you some of my own experiences during this show, just so I can embarrass and humiliate myself. But okay, so you can understand. I'm flying. I don't like flying very much. I fly quite a lot, and I never liked it. It does make me nervous. And do I think that alcohol helps with my nervousness? Yes, it does. And so it's not unusual while I'm waiting that 2 hours for domestic flights and 3 hours for an international flight that I might go to the bar right near the gate and order Bloody Mary. And they always ask you, do you want a double? Well, I'm not driving. This is my point too, folks. I'm not driving. I'm getting on the airplane. Mind you, one time I was in Guatemala flying to Tikal. I was in Guatemala City, and I sat next to a guy who was drinking quite well. And then he got up and got into the cockpit of our plane. That was disconcerting. Anyway, but so I might have a double. Now, a double is 1/5 of this, okay? Some people sit there and have a couple doubles. That's almost half of this. All right. If you get, let's say an orange crush, that's a fancier one with the champagne and stuff, or any other kind of orange and something drink. They'll put vodka in it. Sometimes they'll put two hits of that, and they'll put some other stuff in it. You can be getting 2.5 shots, 3 shots in one drink. Same thing for martinis. And so people go out and they'll have 4 martinis. That's almost this whole thing, 4 martinis. So just to get you understand how that works. Okay, so now, how do you think Diane could possibly get away with drinking alcohol in the car when she's got children in there? I'm going to show you how that works. You drink the coffee, because you can't put alcohol in this, and then if you drink half the alcohol, then you only, kind of missing out on half the fun. All right, so you take this, you pour it in here. About half and half. Then you take this. Hope I don't get this on my computer. Completely empty. Now I got orange juice. And I've got some coffee. There we go. Screwdriver. Thank you. Somebody just say screwdriver. Thank you for all the proper terminologies that I seem to not know. All right. So now you get back into the vehicle, and this is what it looks like. Oh, it's the other way. So this way? This way. All right. But it doesn't look highly suspicious. Okay. Now, where's my straw? I had a straw. Wait a minute. I want my straw. Hold on one second. I lost my straw. Oh, there it is. Okay. So now I got my straw. All right. So now you leave McDonald's, and you've got this going for you. Now, wow. Okay. I'm not a vodka and orange juice drinker. Do you know what that tastes like? It tastes like orange juice. So one of the things they say about people who might be closet alcoholics and functional kind of alcoholics and hidden, people who hide their drinking from people, they drink things that don't smell. And if I take this and go like this, it doesn't smell like anything. And somebody said maybe she mistook that for water. It was like down there, and no, folks, I don't care how drunk you are. This is not a water bottle. I'm going to say anybody who drinks alcohol knows that is not a water bottle. So I don't buy that for a minute. That was accidental drinking. No, this is okay. Now I'm going down the road. I'm sipping. When I run out of that one, I got this one. Whew, okay, that's enough of that. I'm already demonetized probably. Okay, I'm going to move this over here because I'm not going to be drinking that. But I really wanted to show you that because visuals really help us understand things. This is called crime scene reconstruction, essentially, to show how things could work in a rational way. So, okay, Martin's here to give us some humor. Mixed screwdriver. I'm going to say there's a lot of mixed screwdrivers out there. I'm going to guess. Yeah, I'm going to guess. And at this point, the family said the most outlandish, ridiculous things to try and prove her innocent. They did. They tried things like, sugar in your stomach turned to alcohol and all this kind of stuff. But from what I'm seeing here, this is probably what she did. All right. And you can see how easy it was for me to take the 10 shots and put it into these 2 things. And now she's in McDonald's and she's leaving. And, the kids aren't paying attention. She could go to the back of the car and, do her thing to set this up and get it to work. So, oh yeah, now she's got a McMosa. It is terrible. Okay, I'm going to get to this later. A toothache so bad she couldn't see straight, then pull over and call family and wait. Okay, I'm going to get to that later. Let's stay away from the toothache one. I'm going to go to that later on. Okay, so my belief, according to the fact there was an empty vodka bottle in the car that her husband tried to explain away but didn't do a very good job, I would say she does drink. I say she drinks more than her family realizes. A lot of times people will go out and they'll they won't buy liquor on a credit card. They'll just give cash so that it won't be recorded. So if somebody doesn't go to your account, at Bank of America, and hon, how come you went to the liquor store 6 times this month and bought $50 worth of liquor every time? So you buy in cash. You store the thing someplace where it's not being seen. And you do things like put it in something else, put it in some orange juice. Nobody suspects. And here's the next thing I want to talk about, tolerance levels. If you have never had vodka before and you're doing this for the first time, you're probably not going to drive as far as she did or anything else. It'll hit you so hard. You're just going, she clearly has drank that before. I think she could get through this pretty well. One of them she could probably be functionally driving perfectly fine on 5 shots. I'm going to say that because A, she's probably experienced, has a tolerance level. B, she's not thin. So she's got, some weight on her. She can absorb more than some 90-pound girl. And of course, it depends how much time is in between. People sometimes space this. But the question is going to be, as we go on, why would she drink as much as she did on this particular route? Now, admittedly, you got 5 kids in the car. That could drive anybody to drink. But she's done this a lot. It's only a 2.5-hour drive. I mean, they're probably whining here and there and causing, being irritating. But still, and so maybe she thought it's possible. Okay, it's possible. She's okay. I'm just going to. Maybe she actually had the coffee for a while as coffee. Oh, no, you have to pour that out. See, you don't want to waste half the orange juice. So I'm going to say she drank the coffee and split them. And then you just say, I'm going to put this into the 2 different containers. And what I don't drink during the drive, which I'm not planning to, I'll take the other one in the house and I'll drink it later or I'll drink it tomorrow. Right? So I'm going to drink just a little bit now because the kids are, annoying me. And I'm not drunk driving because I'm used to doing this. And you are. Legally, you might be, but if you've driven a lot with a lot of alcohol in your system, you may be able to drive fairly well. All right, so let's go on to see what happens next. All right, next, okay, after she stops at McDonald's, and then she goes to a Sunoco station. Now, I think the Sunoco station, they have a video of this, and this is just kind of weird. So anyway, she drives into the Sunoco station. Here she drives in perfectly normally. Then she goes into the store. There she is walking into the store. The video doesn't seem to show her looking at anything particularly. So you wonder why she went into the store here. What was the purpose? And then they show her walking out of the store without anything. Supposedly they talked to a guy working behind the counter, and he said that she asked for Tylenol gel caps and they didn't have any, and then so she left. I find that kind of weird because, if you've got a problem like a headache or the toothache problem, supposedly according to certain people in the family, she had a tooth abscess. She hated dentists and therefore she tried to avoid going to the dentist. So she might be self-medicating. So the theory could be that she was starting to have pain and she thought, okay, I've got my alcohol, but it's just not quite working. Let me drop into the Sunoco and see if I can get some pain meds. But she just walks out. And the concept that she didn't buy anything because they didn't have Tylenol gel caps seems a little stupid to me. I'm like, when you're in pain, you'll take like whatever else you got. I'll take it. She might have been looking for Ambisol or something to put on her tooth if that worked for her in the past. And that's why she walked out. I honestly do not know. What she doesn't exhibit is extreme drunkenness or anything like that. And so then she drives away. Now, some people say she drove aggressively out of the parking lot, but hey, she's a New Yorker and they are aggressive drivers and I kind of appreciate that. So I don't have too much of a problem with that. I like New York City because when people make a move, they make a move and whoever moves first wins. In Washington, D.C., they just crash because they don't drive so well here. Anyway, so now she's left the Sunoco. Now, what happens from here on out, it gets weird. So she leaves Liberty just after 11 a.m. She's also, she's told her sister-in-law she's running late. And both of them have issues with this. And I want to point this out. Diane has issues with this because she likes to do everything properly and on time. She's very, very, very much of a stickler for these things, being the perfect mom, the perfect aunt, getting it done. And on her sister-in-law, on the other hand, wanted her kids back home. And so she was nervous, like, are you home getting back the kids back? I've been missing them. So on both sides, they wanted her to return quickly. And Diane was saying we left late. And then she's going to have a later excuse of there's traffic. But it is Saturday, so not so sure that was true. So anyway, she left Liberty around 11 a.m. She travels along Route 17 and the New York Thruway and enters the service area. And then she crosses this Tappan Zee Bridge heading east. All right, so now she's supposedly going the right direction. All right. Several witnesses later reported seeing a red minivan driving aggressively on Route 17, including aggressively tailgating, flashing headlights, honking the horn, and moving in and out of lanes and straddling 2 lanes. All right. This is where there's the possibility that she had something wrong with her. And the reason she was being aggressive was because she was trying to get to the next exit quickly. And so people were in her way. And let's say you have pain or you feel like you're going to throw up. You want to get there. So you're like trying to get in and out of the lanes and flashing lights and all that to get to the exit. That's what I believe happened. This did occur twice. People noted that she had been aggressively driving and then she got off the road, aggressively drove, got off the road. This is important. Okay, so now she's off the road. About 1 p.m., another call was made to Hans. That's her sister-in-law, from Schuler's cell phone. During this call, one of Schuler's nieces reportedly told her father, so Mr. Hans at this point, that Schuler was having trouble seeing and speaking clearly. Now, I find that part kind of interesting, the seeing problem, because you can get drunk off your butt, but usually you can still see. So the question is, why is she having that? And this is by the way, the pathologist said in the autopsy she had no tooth abscess. I want to point out that half her teeth were whacked out of her mouth when she was in the accident. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know what they can see when half your teeth are missing. That's just a point I'm just going to make. Yes, and this is true. She stopped and vomited in the New York, NYS rest area. She did. We don't know that she vomited. What people saw was her leaning out like this, looking like she was vomiting. Just pointing that out so we don't say something is true that we don't know. Did it look like she was vomiting? Yes. Or that she wanted to vomit? Yes, I would say that. And the THC can do that. If you take THC, you can have some visual problems. So that is interesting as well. Okay. I think she smoked pot the night before. I find it hard to believe she'll be able to cancel that. The THC in her system had been ingested in some way within a very short period of time before the accident. They said it could be 15 minutes before, it could be an hour before. This is not from last night. So somewhere along the way, she ingested it. I will point out, I doubt she was sitting there smoking a blunt in the car with her kids. I'm going to say, because she was on a camping trip with children and she liked to do some weed before she went to sleep, I'm going to say she knew how to put weed into things, okay? Whether it was into a tea or whether it was into brownies or some kind of edible. That's my guess. And therefore, she would have the edibles that she hadn't had that night before in the vehicle with her and might have then taken the edible for some reason. Okay. All right. So let's go on. All right. And this is also true. THC combined with this ETOH. That's good. Ethanol. Lisa, you're making me look stupid. Can affect sight judgment, and inhibition. That it can. So we're talking about a possible weird combo. And I'm going to get to the theories on all of this in a minute. All right. So now, after she had this thing in the parking lot, so now the kids are going, she's having some weird problem. And she does seem a little incoherent. So police believe the car was stopped in a pull-off area beyond the Tappan Zee Bridge toll booth for at least part of the call. Hans reportedly told Schuler to stay off the road while he came to meet them. All right. Follow-up calls from Hans to Schuler were not answered. For some reason, she left her cell phone on the highway, like she pulled over and she put the thing on like a cement barrier or something, and they drove off without it. Some people say it's so nobody would track her. That's ridiculous. That's meaningless. And she just, I'm going to say she just forgot it. I don't think it's because she didn't want people to contact her at that point. I think she just was out of it. Investigators have not determined what route she took from the bridge to the Taconic State Parkway ramps, but they did notice her van, two drivers noticed her van edging onto the parkway's northbound exit ramp. All right, and then there's a sign, supposedly, there's this sign, and this is also, I'm going to point out some of these issues in a minute. Where is it? Seriously, what happened to her? Oh, I hate it when that happens. Okay. What? Oh, is it up here? Oh, did it go missing on me? Oh, no, here it is. Okay. Supposedly it was marked. There are other people who say it was poorly marked. And this is important because there's two possibilities. One, it was poorly marked so that she got in her confused state. She did not see it. And also, that she was in her confused state, period. I'm going to point out something about that in a minute as far as why she took that particular ramp, which was going the wrong way onto the highway, because it was the exit, right? All right, so then, let's see, within the next minute, 4 more 911 calls were placed by motorists who reported the car was traveling the wrong way down the parkway, going approximately 75 to 85 miles per hour. I don't quite understand this. They say 75 to 85 miles per hour, but she was on the parkway for less than 2 minutes. So I'm not sure how she got less than 2 miles with 80 miles an hour. I'm not, I think that's a little off. But anyway, this van traveled south for 1.7 miles in the parkway's northbound passing lane. This is really important. She was in the passing lane. So if you were driving, she would be, this is your passing lane on your left. She was coming down the passing lane. Okay. This is really important. I think people overlook this and they get the wrong idea from it, which I'll point out in a minute. And then at approximately 1:35 p.m., she collided head on with a 2004 Chevrolet Trailblazer, which then struck a 2002 Chevrolet Tracker. And they claim at that time of impact, she was traveling 85 miles an hour. So maybe she was. 2 men who witnessed the accident and smoke rising out of the van assisted, and all very bad news from there on out. All right. So now, what happened? Okay, I'm going to start with a very popular theory. Very popular theory. Okay. And the popular theory has to do with not that she was a drinker, not that she had some medical issue, not that anything, that the concept here was that Diane, and they bring this up in the program, and I'm like, seriously? Supposedly at 9 years old, they got a couple of psychologists on there, and they say, well, when she was 9 years old, her mother left and she had to take care of the kids. And so she suffered forever after from this tragedy that her mother left the family. And therefore she got into, self-medication to deal with the pain of having lost her mother. And even though she's in her 30s, it's still going on for her 20 years later, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Could that be true? Sure. But hey, this is not evidence. This is a whole bunch of conjecture, which has nothing to do with what happened. So that's the first thing they say. The next thing that comes up is that she's at the campground with her husband, and her husband says, "I'm leaving you, honey." And then they both jump into their vehicles, and she's like, man's leaving me. And she's so upset that he's leaving her, or that she found out he's having an affair, that she decides to kill herself right then and there, and take the kids with her because she's that pissed off. Okay. First of all, there are an awful lot of women who've been told, the marriage is over, and they don't kill their entire family within the next few hours. They don't. The next thing is, she was not an inadequate woman. She's not a woman who had nothing going for her except for her husband taking care of her. She made, I think, $100,000 a year. She was a very capable woman. She had a great job. She made a lot of money. And if they got divorced, I'm sure they would have just worked that crap out. It wouldn't have been that big a deal, you know? So, I mean, it wouldn't be good, but not enough to kill herself and her nieces and her kids within the next few hours. I think that's absolutely stupid. So, you know, we're making up stories that have, first of all, no proof. And secondly, even if he did tell her he was leaving her and they had some marital issues, I think this is kind of unreasonable that she would suddenly decide to kill herself and the children. So, but Dr. Grande, in his video, he's pretty good in the video all the way up to the end where he decides that she did commit a homicide. It was a murder-suicide, that she purposely drank all this. And as people say, the drinking was to give her liquid courage. So she had to get her mind to the place where she didn't care anymore. And then she went up the wrong way on the highway, past that spot, you know, the wrong way on the highway. And then she tore down the fast lane and driving like this. She wasn't all over the road. She was determined. She's driving like that so she can smash into somebody and die and take all the kids with her. Okay. It is true that sometimes when people are in pain, they'll do things and everybody else becomes collateral damage. But I see nothing in this woman's past, not one thing that says to me she would purposely kill her children and her nieces. She's more likely the type of person who would, if all hell had broken loose and she'd given up, would get the kids home and then off herself. I don't believe for a minute that this was a murder-suicide. Now, here is the reason I absolutely don't believe it is. All right. Let's take a look at where she went on the highway, because this to me is truly important. Okay, so here she is. There's a reverse. A guy did this route. I got the link below. A guy videotaped the route, and then he reversed it so we could see how she goes onto the highway, which was really kind of brilliant. Okay, so this is the exit ramp. Now she's on this exit ramp. Now, I want to stop right here and say, why would she get on an exit ramp instead of an entrance ramp? Why would she be confused? All right, personal story. Didn't kill anybody. I was just down the road, and I've taken this route over and over again. It was night, sometime in the evening. Well, anybody, nobody was. I was driving here, and then I had to take a left onto this. It's just a 2-lane road. I mean, basically, it's 2-lane. But where it intersects with the road I was on, it splits like this and has this weird barrier thing for no reason whatsoever. And it's poorly marked. I'm going to tell you, it's poorly marked. And so what happens is during the day when you're there, you see cars coming out. And so you know, oh yeah, go up and around. But at night, you see the barrier is blocked. You can't see the other side of the road. It looks like you're just supposed to, because there's 2 lanes on that. You think you're just supposed to turn left on this side. And one day I did that because there was nobody there and it was night and I wasn't drinking or anything. I just turned. And when I turned, I was like, got confused. I'm like, what the hell? Something doesn't look right here. And I was like, kind of stunned because, I mean, I'd driven this over and over again, mostly during the day, mind you. So it was obvious during the day, but at night you couldn't see it because it was poorly marked. And I'm like, oh crap, what the hell? And it took me, they're talking about the 2 minutes she drove without knowing what was going on. I was on the wrong side of that barrier thing. What happens is then it comes together and it's just a regular 2-lane road. And from a distance, I saw lights coming and finally it clicked in, holy crap. And I moved over. But I was confused for a period of time because it didn't make sense to me. I couldn't piece it together because it was just not right. But I didn't know why it was not right. And I was not drinking. So can you imagine if I was drinking, I'd really know, maybe confused for a long time and keep going down there going, whoa. Okay. So I think for whatever reasons, she didn't see the signs. Could be because she had vision blocked. It could be because she was too drunk and choked up to do anything. Or it could be because the kids were screaming at her at that point and she turned her head and never saw the signs. Because they're sort of on one side of the road. So you turn your head the other way, you miss them. Okay, so now she's going down this road. She gets onto the road. You see what's happening here? She's not staying in the left-hand lane. Why is that? She goes across the thing over to the right-hand side, which is the fast lane going the other direction. Why is that important? All right, there's two things that happen here. One is, in spite, she gets on the road. Now, at that point, she may be confused as to why it's a left-hand entrance. But there are left-hand entrances, and I hate them because when you come onto the left-hand entrance, you get nailed by people who are going in the fast lane, right? So you try to get over quickly, if you can, to the other side so that you're in the slower lane as you pick up speed. So apparently she had enough awareness to decide to go over to the slower lane. Of course, she thinks she's going the right direction. So the slower lane would be here, but for people coming the other way, it is the fast lane. Now she's in the, quote, slow lane. Now, they say she's going pretty fast, but it is whatever, it's a highway. And she's zooming along, but she's got her hands like this. She's in the right-hand lane, holding on. It seems to me like she was trying to get home. She says, okay, if I can just hang in here, I can just go down, stay in the right-hand lane, and I can get home. I don't want to switch lanes anymore because I'm a little out of it, but if I just stay in these lanes, I can get home. Now, you could say, okay, I don't believe that. I believe she was trying to go head on into somebody, in the fast lane. Now, there were people going by her on the left, honking, flashing lights, right? If she wanted to kill herself, all she had to do was pull over right in front of somebody. Done. All she has to do is pull into the middle lane and somebody's going to hit her. But she didn't. She stayed over. She thought people were getting out of her way. Probably she's very confused, but she didn't have to go over there and she didn't have to stay there. She could just go right at somebody and kill herself and the kids. I think if she were wanting to kill herself, she would have driven at somebody and had them slam straight into her. But she was staying in her lane. And unfortunately, at some point, some poor schmuck, the three guys, probably was trying to get around somebody and came into her lane and then hit her. But I think she thought she was in the right-hand lane, the slow lane, and I thought she was going to just stay there. I don't buy for a minute that this was a murder-suicide. I see there's no evidence in her past. I see no evidence that day that she would want to kill herself and her children and her nieces. And I see no evidence as she's entering the road and staying in the right-hand lane, albeit the wrong one, that she was trying to hit somebody so she could take herself out. I don't see any of that. So consequently, I don't think that was what happened. So now we come down to what the heck did happen. Thank you, Elizabeth. I think so. I think she thought it was a slow lane. Now, admittedly, she wasn't going slow, supposedly, but it's hard to know whether she was going 60 and then sped up, at a moment. I'm not sure how they knew she was going supposedly 85 miles an hour. I'm not sure about that. So not quite sure. Yeah, this is true. Oh, no, I think Dr. Granda had lots of good points up until the point where he decided it was a murder-suicide. And pretty much everybody agrees with him. They go, oh, yeah, clearly she was trying to kill herself and killed those kids too. I don't see it. I don't see it there's no justification. There's nothing precipitating that's believable, or in her personality, or just because she got on the wrong way meant she was trying to kill everybody. Now, so then we go to what else could it be? Well, it's a weird case because it comes down to, at this point, then she got so drunk and so high that she messed up her perceptions. And she tried to pull over a few times, throw up, try to get herself together. But then she talked to her brother and to her sister-in-law. And the part about where he says, stay there and I'm coming to get you, people wonder, why didn't she stay there? Well, it's possible she never heard him say that, because if you're already out of it, doesn't mean you hear people correctly. So she may never have even heard that. She might have said, and she's like, okay, I'm good now. Come on, kids, we're going to go. And she takes off. Now, because she pulled over, there was some point about her trying to find her way back, because she ended up going north instead of south. And she got confused. It was clearly she was confused about which way she was going. And again, if she's going to kill herself, she didn't need to get confused in that way. So she was trying to find her way onto the highway. When she realized she was going the wrong way, she tried to turn around and go south, and that's where it all went bad. So it's possible, just theoretically possible, that she was just drunk off her butt. She drank way more than she intended to drink, and somehow it all crisscrossed and put her over the edge. And then and here's where I think her personality does play into it. She knew her sister-in-law wanted those kids home. She also probably didn't want the police to pull up and find that she had been drinking and driving. She would have gotten a DUI, a big one. And then A, she would have maybe lost her license. B, her family would never trust her again because she was drinking with the kids in the car. So she has a reason not to want to be there if the police pull up. So my guess is she was going to move before they could do that, find her on the side of the road. So she goes on. Now, she's also a type A person. She thinks she can do things. She's always been a go-getter. She knows her sister-in-law wants her home. She doesn't want to be nailed by the police. So she says, all I have to do is get on the road. I'm very close to home. She wasn't that far away. Just get on the road, stay in the right-hand lane, get there to the exit and go home. Then what I can do is I'll pull up in front of the house, tell the girls to jump out, and then say, I'm feeling a little off. I'm going to go home now. I'm tired. And then they'll never know I was drinking and driving. That would be a great possibility. Okay. Now we have this question. All right. I understand her disorientation, but to drink and smoke pot with 5 kids in the car. Now, this comes to the next issue. And I'm going to give a personal story just because I got them. And because sometimes I think it helps to have information from somebody who's experienced certain things that maybe can help understand other things. Now, it is said by her family, and I have no idea if this is true, about the problem with the tooth abscess. She didn't like going to the dentist. There are some possibilities that because she stopped at that store looking for something, and it seemed to be she was looking for pain reliever of some sort, that she might indeed have had pain. Now, here's my story about that. Just before, and I'm not a dentist person either, so I understand her in this. But anyway, I cracked a tooth or broke a tooth right when coronavirus started. I broke a tooth, and I didn't think it was going to affect me so badly, but I went to the beach. I'm sitting in my daughter's condo with a bunch of people. We're all having a good time. And it starts hurting. I mean, it hurt so freaking bad. I mean, I'm like, oh my God. I've never had a toothache in my life. And now I know why people say, don't ever get one of those, because the pain is excruciating. So I had Tylenol, not gel caps, but Tylenol. So I took Tylenol. And then about 30 minutes later, I took more Tylenol, because the pain wasn't alleviating. Then I said, get me, what do you have here to drink? I remember saying that because the pain medicine didn't work. So I said, get me something to drink. And I don't know what my daughter handed me, but I drank it. And I said, it's not working. Give me some more. And so I don't know. I don't know how much I drank, but I think it was maybe, I don't know, 3 shots, 4 shots, 5 shots. I didn't care at that point. I was in so freaking much pain. Now, then it didn't work. So I went in my bedroom. She said, my daughter asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. And I don't like them places either, except for I like working at them. I just don't like being a patient in them. Anyway, so I waited it out for 4 to 5 hours of the most horrible pain I've ever had. And it would come and go. And this is important too. So sometimes it comes and then you go, okay, gotta get through this. And then it subsides. You go, okay, see, I made it. Now it's gone. You think it's gone. And then it comes back. This went on for hours. And I thought, finally, I was like, maybe I have to give up and go to the hospital. I can't take it anymore. Somewhere along the way, I hung in long enough that it went away. And now it's been 2 years. So, but I remember that. So it was some horrifying pain. I don't say she had a tooth abscess or something wrong with a tooth, but could have been. And the other thing that can also be is I've only had one in my life, but I've had one migraine headache. I've had aura before, where you got those little, it looks like a little kite strings, with the little diamond shaped things fluttering. And then all of a sudden you just lose half your vision. So, you're like, oh, this isn't good. I can't see half the page. And that means that you have a migraine coming on. And I've only ever actually had a full migraine once. And it was bad. I was throwing up. I was in agony. I couldn't see. Okay. So there are two things that can come on a person fairly quickly, fairly strongly. And sometimes, like with teeth, it can come and go and come and go and come and go. The only reason I give the possibility that this could be true in some way, shape, or form is because I don't see a particular reason, even if she went and put vodka in her stuff, that she had a particular reason to drink as much as she did. I think, that when she had the 5 kids in the car, a little bit sipping, I get it. She's a functional alcoholic. Okay. She has a little bit and she's still driving fine. She's talking to the kids. They stop, she's okay. But to get to the point where she starts having major issues and apparently then does some kind of marijuana on top of the alcohol while she's in this situation, makes me think something went wrong with her, that she became desperate. Now, you can say, shouldn't she just pulled over and said, I need help? Yeah, she should have, obviously. But people who are very domineering, people who think they should be able to accomplish something, she's supposed to get those kids home. She may be the type that thinks if I just doctor myself a little bit more, I'll get home. I can kill this pain. I can make it possible for me to keep going, and I can just get home. And because it happened, she was fine for a portion of the trip, and then it all goes to hell really quickly. And I find it just a little hard to believe that if she was a functional alcoholic, she's probably drank a little bit, a lot of times when she's with the kids and driving, and not to this extent. So what made her drink that much more? Either you can believe that she purposely wanted to kill herself and the children, which I don't see there's evidence of, and that's why she drank so much. I just don't see that making sense. Or that she just kept drinking and drinking till she got sick, but still wanted to get home. I just find that a little hard to believe too. Or that something went wrong where she was having some kind of issue where she was trying to self-medicate. And she kept thinking, if I can just get through the next bit, I can keep going. And I still don't want to get stopped by the cops. I don't want to, they're going to, if they find me, they'll think, oh my God, she's been drinking and the kids are in the car. So I'm just going to try to survive it. I'm going to pull over, throw up, keep going. I'm like, okay, I'm still in pain. Maybe I feel a little better. I'll have a little more. Maybe it'll kill the pain. And you just, things can compound because you make not good choices one after the other, because one choice isn't working. So you just keep going. And I personally think there might have been something. I think the family might have a point that there was some kind of something wrong, whether it was a migraine coming on or whatever, that she tried to get rid of so she could keep going and not have to fail in the mission and have people come and get her and have the police show up and blah, blah, blah. There's no question she made bad choices. There is no way that she is not guilty of this car crash. She is guilty of vehicular manslaughter. There's no way around that. Because she shouldn't, A, never been drinking in the car, and B, she shouldn't have been drinking that much. And she made bad choice after bad choice, which was uniquely rare for her. So that, again, it's so rare for her. Either she really didn't want to kill herself and the kids, or something else was going on that was causing her to make bad choices. So that's, that's what I see in this case. But I definitely don't see murder-suicide. I see vehicular manslaughter brought on by something halfway through that trip that caused her to drink excessively, more so than she would normally have done, and then try to use the marijuana, thinking maybe she's had luck with that killing pain before. And she thought, okay, now the liquor's not working. I'm going to use that and it'll kill the pain. And nothing worked. And she should have stayed put, but she didn't. So anyway, that's kind of where, let's see. Joe says 10 units of alcohol plus weed are enough to make any stressed person in dental pain lose track of their ability to navigate a vehicle. There's nothing mysterious about that. I tend to, that's my theory on it. I mean, they're saying, okay, they did an autopsy and they didn't find, again, she was missing a good portion of teeth. Hold on a second. Sorry. Lost one of my teeth down there. Something in my throat. Yeah. I don't know how much they would know after she had so many injuries, especially to her mouth area, that they would have a clue. And, also, I think you can have something that doesn't appear to be extreme. You don't have to have an extreme abscess or whatever to have tooth pain. My God, people have tooth pain without abscesses. It's just, like something like cavity, somehow it gets to the nerve and it's just vicious. It's some really vicious crap. Yes. And this is, I think, very true. It's too bad she thought she could handle everything. And this is what I think she was. I think she was that kind of person who always thought, I will take care of it. I can deal with it. I can do this. And that gets people into trouble. It gets people into trouble in many situations, like flying. Oftentimes when you have a pilot who says, well, yeah, the weather's bad, but I can do this. And then they crash. But if you were a little bit less sure in your abilities, you might go, I'm pretty good, but maybe that 5% I'm not sure about. Maybe I should just not take off. But people take off in horrible in weather conditions they shouldn't, and get themselves killed. She was delirious, no doubt. She clearly wasn't in her right mind. I don't see that. She was out of it from the point she started on the phone. Originally, when she was on the phone, they didn't notice anything. So it came on, we're talking about not that long a trip. So it came on pretty quickly. Joe says, an abscess tooth pain is like no other. I speak from experience. It still gives me the shivers. Worst pain I've ever felt. And I should have probably gone to the hospital and just gotten knocked out. But, I'm one of those. No, I would not drink with I would not drive and drink with severe nerve pain. I just pull over and say, screw it, call Uber. But I get it. People who are very determined will try to plow through when they shouldn't try to plow through. Let's see. Doreen says, it's not uncommon to need to drink or medicate with THC excessively to get up the courage to commit either murder or suicide, is it? No, but there is not evidence of this. And that's what bothers me about people saying that. There is nothing in her history that says she was suicidal. There's no reason there's nothing. People bring up the saying, oh, I think her husband told her they wanted a divorce. So there's nothing that happened at the campground that is proven that she had any issues. People said she was fine when she left the campground. People said she was fine in the McDonald's. If you're spitting nails because your husband just told you he was cheating on you and he's going to leave you, blah, 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 you're usually in a shitty mood. And you might be just, you'll be stomping around that campground and throwing crap into the car and saying, get away from me, you jerk. The kids, nobody said anything was going on. I don't believe it for a minute. I think she got in the car perfectly. There was no suicidal intention in that car. I just don't see where that comes from, because she made, and it's purely coming from the fact that that's the concept. You're getting that liquid courage to kill yourself. Did she have to kill herself right then and there on that damn trip? Or, come on now. She's a strong woman. You don't think she could have gotten home first and then knocked herself off? Without taking her nieces with her? I just think it's ridiculous. And as a matter of fact, the mother and the father of those three girls don't think so either. They should know if that marriage was in shambles and that something was terribly wrong, and she was a suicidal sort. And they were very cautious about who they let those little girls go with. And they trusted her, unfortunately, but they did trust her because she obviously was a pretty stable character emotionally, or they wouldn't let her go off. So yeah, that's another point. Why would you drag out a murder suicide for 4 hours? You don't need to do that. I mean, say nothing fits together as a criminal profiler. Nothing fits together that this is a murder suicide. Nothing. And so now this is more likely. Carrie said, I think she was terrified at the thought of Warren discovering Diane was wasted and endangered his children. She left the phone and then went in the wrong direction. I don't think she left the phone. I think she forgot the phone. And I don't think she went in the wrong direction on purpose. I don't think that's it at all. I think she was trying to get home. You're right. I think she didn't want them to find out what condition she was in. That's why when the kids were, they said, oh, the kids are crying. Oh, no, they're having fun. They're playing. She was trying to make them think everything was okay so she could get home, drop those girls off, and this could all disappear. And they'd never know. Unfortunately, they found out, but in the worst way. Yeah, this is true. She made the mistake of entering the wrong way and was too intoxicated to rectify the situation. Yes, and this is one reason I pointed out my one little foray of doing that myself. Now, mind you, I was only going 10, 50 miles an hour, but I could have still hit somebody head on. And I remember totally sober, being confused and not having it register. Understand the issue about registering. She was only on that road for 2 minutes. You think that's a long time, but she's got kids in the car making noise. She probably doesn't really pay attention. She's probably paying attention to the road and not the people coming. I think it didn't register. And if it didn't register to me for, I don't know how many seconds it was, I'm going to say maybe only 10 seconds for me because I wasn't drunk. But still, haven't you ever had these things happen and you come out of the building on the wrong side and your car is missing and you go, what the heck? Where's my car? And all of a sudden you just feel like you've lost your mind because you can't explain it because it doesn't make any sense. But what you didn't realize is that the building had 2 separate entrances that look exactly the same and you went out the wrong one. That's why your car isn't there. But you don't know. It's all of a sudden you've gone into some kind of alternate universe and nothing makes sense and you can't put it together. And that's when you're sober. So if you got confused and you thought you were getting onto the highway the right way and your kids are making noise or you're having eye problems here and you don't see the signs and now you're like, okay, I'm doing good. Then she gets on there. Okay, I'm getting in the slow lane. I'm just going to stay in the lane. I don't know. That's what people's problem is. I see no murder suicide. I see somebody who is is not able to have it register quick enough that she is in the wrong place. Lisa says, she wasn't as strong as we think. Think about it. If she couldn't call and wait for the family to come and get her, her ego came first. That's not a strong person. Well, that is a good point. Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when I say strong person, I mean in her own eyes, she had to be a strong person. She did things. She was very capable at work. She was, generally speaking, capable as a mother, capable as an aunt, capable. She was one of those people that got things done. And maybe she could never admit fault, that she's always right. And there's some people talking, I kind of got the feeling that they felt that way about her, that she had to be right and she had to do everything right. So you're correct. There's an ego issue there, but not in her own mind. So I think that's good. Okay. I'm tired of excuses for this woman. But it's not a matter of excuses. It's a matter of just understanding what happened. Again, she had no business drinking and driving, period. She is guilty of vehicular homicide. She is guilty of killing her family and killing those 3 men. She's guilty. There's no way around that. But what I'm trying to get across is people coming to theories that don't hold any water, that don't have support and evidence. Remember, this is a criminal profiling channel. This is not let's gossip and talk about how bad she was. This is not what this channel is about. I don't have I don't have a personal involvement in this, and I don't have to be mad at somebody because I'm not the family. The family can do that for themselves. My place here, because this is an educational channel, is to help you understand why things happen, what the evidence shows. So if you were investigating this particular case, you want to pay attention to the evidence and how it all played out and what is true and what is not true. So when you have a family that says, oh, she wasn't drinking, the kids didn't see her drinking, I'm going to say, what about the stop at McDonald's with the orange juice and the coffee? And talk about how many people use those methods to put alcohol in their drinks so they can put them next to them and continue driving. That is information. If you're a detective, you need to know that. Also, that when you're coming down to how did this all play out, how did it happen, it doesn't excuse anybody's responsibility. It just helps you understand the evidence. That's what it's really about. Okay, I don't care about the husband, Lisa. The husband and sister-in-law make excuses. It doesn't matter. This show is not about that family and how they handle things. Yes, they're doing that. That's true. That's not what the show is about. Again, this is not a show that points fingers and gossips and says, oh, I hate that person. They're a bad person. It's not about this. This is a criminal profiling show. There are other channels out there. You want to go and get all mad about her husband and say, well, you have no business, giving her a break. Go over there. Lisa, this is just about criminal profiling. And I just try to point that out. Why the family does what they do is that's their personalities. Why she did what she did was her personality. Why somebody said, well, why did anybody not recognize her drinking problem? That's their personalities. This is how things work. And that's what this is all about, explaining how things work. That is true. It's very stressful driving other children around, and she must have been exhausted after a camping trip and very possibly get mixed up after drinking. Well, children are very exhausting. This is true. And driving with a van full of them is no big thrill. I understand that if she was a person who snuck alcohol in, that she might have wanted to have that drink, a little orange juice with her to drink something. The point about this whole case comes to the difference between her drinking half of that. So she had 2 or 3 shots, which she could handle and still drive. I'm not saying it's correct, mind you. I'm not saying you should ever drink anything and drive. Okay? Especially with children in the car. You shouldn't do it. But I'm pointing out that in her mind, since she's probably done it before, having that much probably didn't make her a dangerous driver. Okay? So she could sip maybe this much and be okay. The question is, why would she do in this much alcohol in a short period of time? Why this much you could sort of put off to, okay, she just drinks, she's a drinker. But then when she did this in a very short period of time and the marijuana, you have to wonder why. What led her to do something in that short period of time? She could have sipped that, just moved along, had a little food, talked to the children, moved along. It's only 2 hours and 2.5 hours. It's not that far. It's not like she was in the car for 12 hours. She could handle that. And get the kids all had iPads. She all had them all. She had all kinds of things for them to do. The iPads were out there so they could play games. I'm sure they could be fine for that time. They probably weren't screaming their minds out. So she didn't have a baby in the car. It was absolutely awful. So she could easily drive, take a stop if she needed to get the kids out of the car and drink this much if she were going to drink and be a little happier, more relaxed. But something sent her over the edge somewhere after she stopped at Sunoco looking for something, which looked like pain meds. Something happened after that, which was extreme. And that's what I'm pointing out. Something extreme happened. This wasn't a matter of her just normally drinking. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to drive the kids for 2 hours back home. I'm going to drink 10 shots of liquor while I'm doing it. That's just hard to believe that would be how she would be thinking. So I'm just trying to point out what's rational. And I can believe she might have been a person who would drink and drive. Yes, I can believe that. But the amount that she drank in the period of short time and also the marijuana makes me think something else happened. That's interesting. Florence says, I have a friend who goes into psychosis if he smokes or ingests marijuana. Marijuana induced psychosis, according to the doctor. And this is interesting because I have a big issue with marijuana because now that they're making it legal, we're having an instance of more teenagers having schizophrenia. And I've always believed that marijuana can induce, especially in young people, start inducing them into schizophrenia. I'm not a doctor, so I'm a psychologist, so you take this with a grain of salt, but I haven't worked in a hospital for so long. It's just, if the people say marijuana is just such a mild little thing. It was mild when it was homegrown. It's not mild anymore. Marijuana is so strong now that and that people are starting way too young, and it's messing their minds up. And they're using it too much and too often. She did use it apparently to go to sleep at night. So all you have to do is get a bad batch. All you have to do is use too much. All you have to do is ingest it in a way that doesn't work well with the alcohol. Maybe she never put the alcohol and the marijuana together. Maybe they were very separate for her. Like, you should have, that was only late at night and only a little bit. So it could have been that they went together and just completely messed her brain up. But again, why did she feel a need to do that is the issue in this case. And I just can't believe she felt the need to suddenly have marijuana in the middle of her trip for no reason whatsoever. I don't believe that. I think it had to have something to do with something was wrong with her and she was trying to correct it stupidly, but she was trying to correct it. Some cases make us more emotional than others, don't they? I understand Pat stays logical throughout, but occasionally there are cases which I can't do that and have emotional reactions. I mean, we do. I mean, I'm not like stone-faced. I don't care. No, there are things that upset me. And this is a very upsetting case. I agree with that. All I'm trying to point out here is that just for this show, focusing in on evidence as opposed to just getting angry at everybody and saying, hey, she's a baddie and he's a baddie and all that, it serves no purpose for this show. Which one reason I always have, chat rooms where I can talk with you and help us stay on track for the purpose, which is this is a criminal profiling channel, not a true crime channel in the sense of let's just talk about this horrible case and let's everybody get mad. So, and again, Lisa, we don't know what she wanted. Okay, she wanted to get high. You're making up a theory. You're making up something that the evidence isn't really there. That's what I'm pointing out. She may have wanted to relax when she was drinking and driving, but all of a sudden wanting to get high in the middle of the highway is not very likely. As a criminal profiler, I'm saying this. There are a lot of times people like to get high. That's true. But this is such a weird situation. And she normally is a very responsible person, according to everybody who knows her. So it would make much more sense that she just get home and then get high. Like, man, that was a horrible trip. Feeling better now. I can understand the drinking thing because you can sneak that in and do it little by little as you're driving. And theoretically, if she's done this before, not do it to an extreme. But to suddenly pull off and say, I've got to down a whole bunch of marijuana by some edible, it doesn't hold water as something that's logical. And this channel, again, is about logic. And when we're analyzing cases, we have to stay with logic and evidence and not, just because somebody could doesn't mean that the evidence supports that they would. Joe says, I work for a drug and alcohol agency dealing with people's addictions daily. Marijuana is not harmless. If abused, it can cause huge mental problems, depression, and suicidal ideation. Yeah, I've always believed that it's, again, with the strength level and the high usage level, we're in for a bad ride. The legalization across the United States, and where they're starting to pop up on every corner, you can just go in and buy, especially the edibles. Children are getting hold of the edibles and they're ending up in the hospital because their parents leave the edibles around. At least when they smoke the weed, the kid could get a little smoke in his face, but that's about it, But they pick up these edibles and end up in the hospital. Children are taking edibles to school because they find mommy and daddy left this candy for all of us children to enjoy at school, and then people are just doing it to excess and in very strong quantity. So I think we're in for rough ride because I understand where people want to make it legal so that, I don't know, we're not have the war on drugs can be alleviated or ameliorated. Okay. No, now we got we have a massive drug using population now. And it's killing us, really killing us. So, no, that's not exactly true. Yeah, her blood level showed that she had pot 15 minutes for an hour before they crashed. So she probably smoked or ate that before she didn't crash within an hour of being in the car. That's not true. She went, maybe let me get the time straight here. She left at 9:30 in the morning. Okay. Let me get, I even have, oh, wait a minute, hold it. I've got, I have a, here we go. Okay. See now, look at this. 9:30 she left in the morning. She goes to McDonald's. She leaves McDonald's at 10:30. So there's an hour right there. And then She calls at 11:30ish saying she's running about a half an hour late. Then she doesn't, then the crash actually hurt. If you go down to the red spot, is 1:35 p.m., 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, almost 4 hours. She didn't have that marijuana probably prior to 12:30. And if you look at 12:30, that's when she's seen vomiting at the rest stop. Now, this is what's interesting. So at that point, and then 12:30, she's vomiting. 12:55, then they're calling back and forth. Almost 1 o'clock. Now, half an hour later, that's when the incoherent thing happens. Okay. It may be at that rest stop where she was vomiting that she thought, okay, if I eat this edible, maybe this will help and it'll calm everything down. And then it just got worse. So no, she didn't get in the car. She didn't like toke up a whole bunch of stuff at the campground and get all drunk and get in the car. That's not what happened. So let's not say things that happened that didn't happen. She was apparently fine for about half of the trip, and then it all went to hell. So there was suddenly an increase in the use of alcohol, suddenly a decision to use marijuana at that point, like an hour before the crash. So something happened. And I personally go with the theory that she might have had some kind of severe pain, and because of her personality, decided she would soldier through with a little help. That if I just do this and this, I can calm it down and I can get home. That's what behavioral profiling is as well. To look at person's behaviors and say, what would they do? What wouldn't they do? What makes them, what's their likely action, and what evidence do we mean? Yes, this is correct. She had it on the road. Yes, that's why I believe it was edibles, because if she liked to use it at night, I mean, apparently they were pretty like, as far as the children went, I don't think she wanted the children to know she smoked weed, right? So she liked to smoke a little weed before she went to bed so she could sleep. She had insomnia, apparently. And this was her way of maybe dealing with it. It may be that she knew she was going on the camping trip and she wasn't going to sit there and smoke weed around the kids and have, Auntie, what's that horrible smell? Because I can smell that stuff a mile away. It makes me throw up. But anyway, so edibles would be something she could get in her tent with her husband, just chomp an edible, feel more calm and relaxed, and go to sleep. So I don't know if they, remember the car went on fire and all kinds of things happened. Who knows what happened to, if she had anything left of it. Maybe I say she may have just misinterpreted how strong that edible was. I don't know. We don't know. There's things we're never going to know about this incident. So we can only say there's the likelihood, as opposed to we're going to fill in all the details and make up something completely. Well, if edibles take 45 minutes to an hour to hit you, well, then that would mean, remember when she was throwing up at the stop, that would be about the right time frame then, I would think. Yeah, that would be about right. Because let's go back here a second. Let me pull up our time frame again. Here we go. All right. Where's she throwing up? She's throwing up at 12:30. The collision is an hour later. And she starts going wacko about 1 o'clock. So it's hard to know whether, if she let's say, for example, it's hard to know when that could have happened. I mean, we don't know. We don't. But it's in her system, so she took it. But then again, I find it a little hard to believe she took it for no reason at all. It's like, oh, look, I just want to get more racked, I think she had to believe it was going to help her. Very, very mistakenly believed that for whatever reasons. 2009. This is good. Heidi says, my guess is she made brownies or something. There weren't pot shops then. I guess that's why I keep thinking she smoked it. Yeah. You can also make tea. Yeah, you can make tea with it too. That was quite popular if you had enough to wrap up and stick in a pot. I only know this because I've been to Jamaica. And way back when I was in Jamaica, and I married a Jamaican. But anyway, I got married in 1979, and I went to Jamaica prior to meeting him. So this was the 70s. They used to serve out marijuana tea there. It was pretty darn strong stuff. So, The tourists loved it. Yes, this is correct. It's evident it was in her system. That is correct. Absolutely. Where was the husband? I thought he was following in a truck with a dog. He was in a truck with a dog and probably a lot of the camping equipment, but I don't think he was following her. It wasn't one of these things where they had to follow it and they all get off at McDonald's and then all get off at the rest stop. He probably just going to go home. I mean, he didn't want to take the kids all to the bathroom, and so they just probably took off, and it's only 2.5 hours, Now, again, we have to look at ourselves and understand something. This is very important with our profiling too, to understand that something we do or we don't do is not something that other people do or don't do the same way. For example, when you look at any crime scene, you could say something like, "Oh, there's dishes in the sink. They must have happened right after dinner because they didn't have time to wash the dishes." How many people? Okay, maybe you wash your dishes right after you eat. Maybe some of us don't. I always did when my kids were in the house, but I'm here by myself, and I'm like, oh crap! I throw that crap in the sink. I'm here alone. I'll get that in the morning. So you have to know if a person's a slob. Just because you're a neatnik doesn't mean that somebody else isn't a slob. So we all have different ways of doing things, and so. Somebody will say, well, my husband would never leave me alone on the road. He would always be right next to me. Okay, well, that's lovely. But other people just say, hey, you go ahead. Not a big deal for me. So we all have different ways of doing things. So we shouldn't get those confused with the evidence and things that, that maybe not even play into it. And that's one of the things in the profiling school. I'm going to be pointing out some of these things that when we're looking at a case, we want to make sure that we're not putting our own subjective viewpoint into this is how I live. I think my favorite movie, I can never remember the name because I never remember anything, is a Bette Midler movie. And all I know is they're two women and they're the buddies. And I guess they piss off somebody in the mob or something. And they go to the friend's house. Bette goes to her friend's house and the place is just like ripped apart. And the friend says, "Oh my God, somebody's been looking for the thing. They looked all over my house. They've torn up the house looking for whatever it was." And she goes, "Well, let's go to your house, Bette, see if they've been there." Then they walk in and a friend says, "Oh my God, Bette, they've been here too." And Bette goes, "No, they haven't." So her place was a trash dump. And so when you come as an investigator and you see, oh my God, half the drawers are open and the person's clothes are all over the floor and maybe they're just a slob. You have to take that into account before you jump to a conclusion. So Heidi says the way Diane and Danny left seemed to be normal for them. I guess as far as I can see, yes. I don't see anything. I love that movie too, whatever it's called. Yeah, I think it's got 2 words. Somebody come up with it. This is probably true. He seemed to rely on her for a lot, and my guess is she made it seem like she could handle it. From what I gather from the stories is that she kind of ran the roost. And he kind of was the guy that just did what she said. That's not, again, a wrong thing, okay? Because people always say that, oh, well, she's bossy, she wore the pants in the family, all this stuff. Hey, everybody's got their own relationship. It doesn't mean it's a bad relationship. Some people like it that way, So that's why they chose each other. So I don't know. And all I know is we don't know anything negative about their relationship, which would have led her to a murder-suicide that morning. That I don't get. No, it's not Beaches. No, not Beaches. That's a sad one of them dies movies. No, it's not Stella. No, it's got two words. 2 words. First word. It's a funny movie. And I just can't remember it. Oh my goodness. 2 words. I think it has 2. Ruthless people. Oh, wait a minute. Ruthless people? I don't think that's it either. Shit, I have to Google. Hold on a second. Now you're just going to make me go crazy here. Bette Midler. Let's see. I love Google because you can it's like an 8 ball. You can ask it anything. It just tells you. Bette Midler movies. I'm just going to have to go movies. I can't come up with a way to say it. Outrageous Fortune. Outrageous Fortune. There, I found it. 2 words. See, I was right. Outrageous fortune. Yeah, I'm going to put that on the screen just so you can remember. Outrageous fortune. Boom. There. Oh, there. Outrageous fortune. Bette Midler. And who else was in that one? Haven't seen that in a long time. The Outrageous Fortune movie. Well, it was very funny. Yeah. So there's like so many, like 8 different choices here. No, Outrageous Fortune. I remember it now because I thought that was so funny. This is very true. Molly says maybe she didn't want her husband or anyone else seeing her unsafe driving. Yeah, I think she had a persona she wanted to protect, that she didn't want people to think she wasn't the perfect mom, the perfect person that did all the things right. And maybe, in spite of her maybe closet drinking, she gotten away with it because probably people didn't really know if she just had a little alcohol here and there. It doesn't mean you're walking around staggering, it just means you might be more relaxed, you might be funnier, you might be, whatever, but doesn't mean they know you're drinking unless you have it, obvious glass of scotch in front of you. So she may indeed have wanted to have that perfect persona, that wanted everybody to believe she never did wrong, and it's not a good thing because then you can't change gears when you need to, when you can say, okay, I'm screwed on this one, so just for whatever reasons, I know you take care of it, I can't, I'm having this problem. But and again, it turns out, I repeat this again, she's guilty of vehicular manslaughter. She's guilty of making bad choices. She's guilty of driving and under the influence. She's not innocent, absolutely not innocent. She killed too many people. I mean, it's a bad thing that she did. Bad, really bad. And somehow her sister-in-law has forgiven her, and I don't know if she killed my 3 kids, I could ever do that. So I'm not saying that, I can give her a pass. No. My kids, I'm not going to be nice about that. Yeah, this is very true. You have to know when to say no. You do, and a lot of people can't. Shelley Long, yeah, Shelley Long was an outrageous fortune with Bette Midler. That's correct. So much fun. So it's a good movie. Go see that one. But that scene always stuck with me because I just thought it was hysterical. And I know that this is what happens to detectives. You go into a scene and you have to decide what is evidence of the crime and what is not evidence of the crime, because you just don't know. For example, if a person is found naked, it doesn't mean that they were raped. It could mean that they like to walk around naked, or they sleep naked, or they get up and go to the bathroom naked. And then if they're found dead on the floor naked, doesn't mean it's a sexual homicide if they're naked to begin with. So you have to be really careful about that. And the problem is, a lot of times if you ask friends or family, does she sleep naked? They might go, oh, no, she wouldn't do that. Because they've never seen the person sleep naked. Maybe because of when they're on vacations, the person's not going to sleep naked. They're going to have a nightgown with them or a T-shirt or something. So you only know some of the stuff about people. And there's always that bit about somebody you don't know that they keep hidden from you or keep hidden from some people. So, Gretchen, Gretchen, hey, Pat, love the show. And Andrea Yates, I agree with you. That was a tough show to do. I think it was premeditated. It was definitely premeditated. The question wasn't whether it was premeditated. The question was whether she was in her right mind in the sense of the legalities of was she insane or not. And as I point out in the show title, I have a very unpopular opinion on that. And one of the things that's difficult with YouTube is that you got 2 choices with YouTube. You stay with what you see because that's your job, or you soften it or not do it because you don't want people to be mad at you, because you know that it's not a popular thing. Michael Jackson was a tough one for me to do because there's people who just adore Michael Jackson and they think it's perfectly fine if he sleeps with little boys. They do, and they say he has a pure heart. If he were the dude down the street and he had a bouncy house in the back, and all kinds of toys in the backyard, fun things to do. And then inside the house, he had video games and all kinds of neat stuff. If some guy down the block said, brought little boys over to his house and then wanted him to go into his bedroom and hang out for the night with him, you'd be calling the police. But not if he's Michael Jackson, apparently. But if you're a regular guy, police would be on his doorstep in a heartbeat. So that is, it's difficult to do shows and just stay with what is professionally what your analysis is, and also not piss off some of your subscribers who then go away. So I know it's a tough thing for a lot of YouTube people, content providers, because they don't want the hate. They don't want people to attack them, so they're very cautious. I personally, I just vowed I'm going to say what I need to say, because this is how you learn, and this is what the evidence shows, and such as it is. So Henry Yates was kind of a scary one to do, let me tell you. We also play Name That Movie. We do. And Name That Drink. Name that movie. Name that drink. So yeah. It's fun with live shows, and actually, even when I don't do live shows, I have the same problem. I have no memory. I've never had a memory anyway. So there we go. It's just the way it is. Thank you, Lisa. I'm here because of the way you analyze cases. You cut through the BS. Well, the problem is if you're analyzing a case and it isn't, you're not a crime scene analyst, and you're not hired by the defense to come up with the crime scene they want, or the analysis they want. It really is a matter of logic and really trying to make sure that the evidence supports whatever, before you go and say, oh, this is probably what happened. We already actually know what happened. She was drunk driving and she crashed. Vehicular homicide, she's guilty. We knew that. But because there's so much talk about why, and it was a unique circumstance. I mean, it really was. It wasn't like she left a party, drunk out of her mind, went on a 2-lane road and crossed the center line and killed somebody. That's pretty easy. Nobody has a question about that, because that happens quite often. You know what I mean? But in this case, we have a responsible mother and aunt coming from a campsite in the morning to drive 5 children home. And this happens. It's it was really freaked everybody out. I mean, it was a very unusual situation. And that's why there's a discussion on how she ended up in doing this particular thing that she actually did. So it's pretty scary stuff. Heidi says, Delphi is what hooked me, Pat. The only person who talks sense about the case. Well, thank you. I find, there are other people out there. But I think the problem is I point this out all the time. YouTube is about making money. It's about getting massive subscribers, massive views, and people do what gets people to do that. So they'll talk as much crap as they can about everything and throw everything out there so everybody can gossip and fight and argue and that's just not my channel. So I'm never going to do that. So I have a different kind of channel. It's an educational channel. So yeah, I'm glad you appreciate what I do, and I'm going to keep doing that. That's my point. And now that I've changed some things up, I'm going to start working on that profiling school, which is my real dream of having on the internet. So there'll be one place people can go for free and just understand things about profiling, criminal justice students, detectives, or just regular folk who want to understand more. So I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can try to keep this channel afloat. But anyway, I think that's basically it. Annie, now you show up, Annie. Hi, Annie. You're too late. She's already crashed. All right. But now you'll have to go and start over again. So, but I'm always glad to see you even for 3 seconds. So again, before I go, thank you very much, Lisa. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate that. Before I go, again, if you'd like to be in the chat room and be involved in this part, please do go to Patreon. $5 a month. You're totally involved in all of the shows that I do, and it helps support the channel. And other than that, subscribe to the channel and support it that way, or hit that little $sign. If you want to just do a one-time, hey, Pat, thanks for this. Believe me, I am the Andrea Yates thing that I did, that was demonetized. I guess because she killed her children in a bathtub. I didn't say anything terrible, but but a lot of times when there's children involved, they demonetize. So there goes the advertising money that might keep the channel afloat. So it's a toughie, it really is. It's just, it's unfortunate, but that's the way YouTube works. So I wish they didn't. I wish they were a little bit more lenient, especially with criminal profiling shows. But I mean, I prefer to have no advertising at all, but then I'd have to have so much support to try to, bolster the channel. You can say no advertising. You can demonetize yourself, but I mean, I'm only making enough money to even keep this channel, like pay for the bills on it. So I kind of don't want to demonetize as well. So anyway, well, thank you very much, Gretchen. I thought you were very objective about Andrea Yates. Thank you. I appreciate that. And, that's the whole point, is to be as objective as possible, to not, the subjectiveness. I mean, we all have it, but when we look at things, we should try to say to ourselves, am I being subjective? And it doesn't hurt when you're working as a detective to have a team that says, hey, dude, you're being very subjective about this. You have some issue that you're misconstruing things because you see it in a certain way that is from your background or from your personal perception. And we all have that. From your age, from your culture, from your everything about you has some impact on how you look at a case and what you understand about it. Because if you don't understand certain things because you've never experienced them, you need to find people who have, so you can get some input. So you can balance that out to make it more objective than saying, well, I think, and we don't know what we should think. So anyway, that's it, folks. And we're going to be back on Wednesday hangout at 7 p.m. Oh, interesting. Just before I go, I wasn't familiar with the story, but I watched Dr. Grande this morning. I learned a lot from your show today, Pat. Thanks for always sticking with the evidence. Thank you, Doreen. Yeah. And I say his show was pretty good. I just totally disagreed with him at the end. And I don't understand where he came up with that final analysis. But, he is a psychologist, not a crime scene analyst. So maybe that's it. And maybe he looks at me sometimes and goes, I don't agree with your psychological analysis. So I'm thinking he doesn't agree with me on Andrea Yates. So we have our differences along the way, and it's fine for people to listen to more than one channel and to get more understanding in general. So anyway, hopefully I see you on Wednesday. It's going to be 7 p.m. on Wednesday for the hangout this week. And I hope I see you there. So yes, and again, we'll be down to just the one tier by Wednesday, because I just got to do it. And so if you haven't switched over from the higher tiers, hey, it's less money. And if you're on the lower tiers, please just switch up. And if you have never been there before, just hit whatever tier you see that has the stuff that goes with it. So hopefully I will see more people joining Patreon and being involved in actually being part of our community. So hopefully, bye.